Hello dear students, this is Mr. Uthman, and in this video we are going to speak about auditory and balance receptors. These are found in the air. So let's first look at the structure of the air. The structure of air, we have first the outer air. So let's see this structure from here. Let's call it the outer air. The outer air contains these parts. These parts are the outer air. So what is found here? We have the pinna, this outer air. It contains the pinna and contains the auditory canal. This is the auditory canal. And you have the tympanic membrane, or we call it eardrum. This is the eardrum. Also, you can find here some glands which secrete this yellow waxy substance which protect the air. This is the outer air. Let's look at the middle air. The middle air contains the bones, ossicles, these ossicles, the bones, and eustachian tube. So we have the hammer, anvil, stirrup, or we call it malleus, incus, stapes. These are the three bones. This is the first one, the hammer, which is attached to the eardrum. Then we have in the middle the incus, or we call it anvil. Then we have this one, we call it stirrup or stapes. And these are part of the middle air. Also, we have in the middle air eustachian tube. This tube, we call it eustachian tube. What does it do? It balances the atmospheric pressure between the both sides of the eardrum. So if there is high atmospheric pressure enters from here, this eustachian tube is going to balance it, so no damage will happen to the eardrum. Because if any damage happens to the eardrum, is going to make a hole in it, then our ability to hear is going to decrease. Why? Because this eardrum shakes the bones, and the bones will transmit the sound waves into the inner ear. So this was the middle ear. Let's look at the inner ear. The inner ear is the real auditory and sound receptors found in the inner ear. So the inner ear contains this, the cochlea and vestibule. So the cochlea contains sound receptors, and vestibule and semicircular canal contains the balance receptors. We're going to look at those, but first, how do we hear? When the sound waves come from outside, this pinna collects the sound waves, and sound waves are going to move through the air canal. Then they're going to shake the eardrum. The eardrum is going to shake the bones, and here we have the sound waves will enter from this. Here we have the oval window. We call it the oval window. The oval window. Then the sound waves are going to enter to the inner ear, which is filled with endolymph, which is liquid. Then is going to stimulate the receptors of sound inside of the cochlea. So let's look at the auditory receptors. Auditory receptors are the sound receptors. If we look at the inner ear, this is the inner ear, so this is the cochlea. If we look at it like cross section of the cochlea, we'll find structures here. We call them organ of Corti. So this is organ of Corti. Now the cochlea is filled with endolymph liquid. When this endolymph liquid shakes, is going to shake the hair cells, the sound receptors in organ of Corti. Now organ of Corti is going to transmit these sound waves or shakes into action potential, and is going to go through the auditory nerve, or we call it the cochlear nerve, to the brain. First going to go to the vestibule cochlear nerve, then is going to go to the auditory center in the brain, where in the cerebrum. And this is how we hear something when it comes. Let's go to the balance receptors. The balance receptors, if we look here in the inner ear, we found this structure. We call it semicircular canal, and here we have the vestibule. So a semicircular canal and the vestibule, they can detect the balance. But semicircular canal, they detect the rotation movement. When you turn your head and the speed of turning your head left or right, this is detected by the semicircular canal. And when you bend like vertically, or when you bend laterally, like you bend your body or your head, or the speed of you when you walk. For example, you are walking. How does your body know you are walking fast? Or maybe you are in an elevator, then you move down. How does your body know the speed at which you move down or you go up the elevator? This is detected by the vestibule. This is the vestibule. So if we look at it, here, let's first speak about the semicircular canals, which detect the rotational movement of the head when you turn left and right and their speed. We have semicircular canals which are filled with liquid endolymph, just like the one in the cochlea. But if you look at the semicircular canal, they have these at their bases swelling. We call them ampulla. So this is the ampulla. Here we can find the receptors which can detect the balance. Let's look at this one with better example here. Here you have the semicircular canal. At these structures, ampulla, you can find structure like this. So this contains the balance receptors when you turn your rotational movement of your head. Let's look at it how it happens with a little bit more details. Look here. Here in the ampulla, first of all, here you have liquid. In the semicircular canal, you have liquid. When you turn your head, like you rotate your body left or right, now this endolymph is going to shake. It's going to cause the movement of this copula. This is copula. Copula is gelatinous substance which cover the balance receptors, which are the hair cells. Now this copula is going to move by the movement of the endolymph. Now it causes these hair cells to move as well, which will cause them to detect your movement, is it left or right. Then it will send action potential to the center of balance in the brain. So it's going to go from the vestibular nerve to the vestibular cochlear nerve, then it's going to go to the cerebrum, to the center of balance in the brain, and this is how we detect the rotational movement of the head. So revise it. Here we have in the semicircular canal filled with liquid endolymph. Here we have these the ampulla, the swelling, which contains crustia, or let's call them the balance receptors. We have hair cells covered with gelatinous substance. We call it copula. And the endolymph, when it moves, is going to move or shake this endolymph. And this movement is going to shake the hair cells, then is going to cause action potential. Action potential will go to the brain, to the cerebrum, to tell or send the signal about the position of your rotation of the head. Let's go to the other movement here. We have the vertical or lateral. This is when you bend your body forward, like when you pray. You bend your body forward or backward, or just you move to the right or to the left. You move your body, all of it. This is your body, for example. When you move this to the left or to the right, or when you just move your body, bend this direction, we call it vertical or lateral. This is going to be detected by the vestibule. This structure here, we call it the vestibule. The vestibule contains two sacs. We call them utricle and saccule. Now we have utricle and saccule. This is inside of the vestibule. Also, we can find here endolymph liquid and the receptors. Let's look at them how they are. Just here in the saccule and vestibule, the same. They have the same structure. You have copula, you have endolymph. This copula, you have gelatinous substance, you have endolymph, but you have something here which is not found in the semicircular canals. This, we call them air stones. Air stones, or we call them otellates, which are made of calcium carbonate. Now look here how they help in balance. So the semicircular canal and the vestibule contains the same receptors. The difference here, we have air stones in the vestibule. In the saccule and utricle, we can have this air stones or otoliths. Let's look at this balance, how it happens. Now look here. When you bend, look, your body, you bend this vertically or laterally, what happens? The air stones are going to push the copula, and the copula are going to push the receptors, the hair cells, and this will cause action potential. Now this action potential is going to go to the brain, to the center of balance, to tell your brain how you moved. Is it forward, backward, or just laterally to the left, to the right? And this is how it is detected by these hair cells, which are found in the air.